Today we will learn how to describe, explore, and compare data using our TI-84. We are going to learn how to calculate the measures of center and variation and do some exploratory data analysis. Let's assume in a statistics class, students got the following grades in their recent quiz. And this is graded out of 20. And each number represents the grade that the student obtained in the class. So we want to find out how we can calculate the mean and standard deviation along with median and mode of this given data. You can do this by hand or you can use your graphing calculator, and I'll show you how to do that in your graphing calculator. Turn your calculator on. We are going to enter the data first. The way to do that is to push Stat and then get the Edit option. And I will go to L1, so if you do it with me, I actually pre-entered this data for you. And you just simply enter the data like 18 and then push the down arrow, 20, push the down arrow, and so forth, all the way down to the last data point, which is 17. And the beauty about this is, if you look at it, the last data point is 17, and this number tells me how many data points I entered. If you enter the wrong data point, all you have to do is go to that data point and push delete. If you want to delete the entire column, what you need to do is you need to go up, all the way up to L1, and once the L1 is highlighted, push the clear button. I don't want to do this because I already entered the data. So this is how we enter data. I entered all the grades that the students got in the class. Now, in a previous example, I showed you how to generate a frequency table based on data, and you select your class limit boundaries and midpoints and frequencies, and that data is the data that I used before, and assume that you are given a frequency table as well. So if you want to enter frequency table data in your graphing calculator rather than discrete data, what you need to do is you need to calculate your midpoints ahead of time and then write down your frequencies ahead of time. What you're going to do, you're going to go to your graphing calculator and you're going to enter your midpoint in one column and the frequency on the next column. So this was my discrete data. Now I'm going to go to L4 and L5. In L4, I will enter the midpoint the way that I see it: 3.5, 7.5, 11.5, 15.5, 19.5. And I'll enter it the way that I entered the discrete data. And on L5, I'll put the frequencies: 5, 5, 6, 13, 7. 5, 5, 6, 13, and 7. And that concludes the portion that I entered the discrete data or the frequency table data. So for discrete data, you enter the discrete data points. For the frequency table data, you enter the midpoints and the frequencies. Now let's assume I want to go and calculate a couple of things. The first one that I want to calculate is measure of center and variation. If I'm looking at the raw data, meaning the L1, and these are the values that I obtained using my graphing calculator, and I'll show you how that's done. Let's say I want to do statistics on L1, looking at this discrete data. The way to do that is for you to go to Stat, and this time I will pick the Calculate button, go to the right with the right arrow, and then pick number 1 variable statistics. Now the calculator is going to blink and ask, okay, what do you want me to do? I put my raw data in L1, so I'm going to push second one, which will pick up that blue key, which is L1 in this case. When I push enter, you will see that I will get the first value with the X hat is my mean. And the second value is the sum of the values. The third one is sum of the square of the values. The Sx is your sample standard deviation, and sigma x is your population standard deviation. So when somebody says standard deviation, probably they mean the sample standard deviation. And based on what we covered in class, you need to get one more significant digit than what your data has. My data had no decimals after the decimal point, so I'm going to have one decimal after the decimal point. So you have to go one more than your raw data. So mean is 13.1, even though my calculator shows 6 or 7 digits. My median, and now I don't see it in here, so if you scroll down, you will see that this MED is 15, that's your median. And the standard deviation is your sample standard deviation. If you go scroll up, Sx is your sample standard deviation, and I did roll it to 5.4 to the nearest tenth. Here we go. Now if I want to do the same thing using the frequency table, remember I put my frequency table, I just forgot where I put it. Let's go and look. Stat edit. I put it in L4, the midpoints, and L5, the frequency. So if I want to calculate the mean and standard deviation based on the frequency table, all I have to do is go to Stat and calculate and pick the same one variable statistics. Let me clear this thing so that you can see it. Stat, calculate, one variable statistics. And now I'm going to put, where did I put it? In L4 and L5. So I'm going to put L4 by picking second 4. You see, it prints L4, and I'm going to put comma. And L5. L5 is that one. Second 5. And enter. When you do that, you will see the same way the mean, which is the x hat 12.8. And the sample standard deviation 5.3. If you want to go get the medians and all that, and you can also do that from your graphing calculator. But what's important is that you have to enter the midpoint column, comma, the frequency column to get these numbers. Now the next step is to get a plot, and the most popular plot is a box plot, where you actually put your minimum, your first quartile, median, third quartile, and maximum on the same plot. You can do this by hand by reading these values. Let's go back to the stat calculate one variable statistics of the raw data. I will just do that one more time to look at the numbers. As you see, it will give me the minimum, which is 2, which will go in here. The Q1, the first quartile, is going to go here. Median, 15, is going to go here. And Q3 to 17. And the maximum, scroll down here. I can do that by hand and make sure that your scale is properly scaled. Or you can use your graphing calculator. I will show you how to do that. Now, to get the plot, what you do is you push that button here, and that will pick that plot. Make sure all your other plots are off, and also make sure that that key, when you push it, doesn't have any formulas in here, and they're turned off so it doesn't interfere with your statistics. So let's go to stat plot, and you're going to turn a plot on. To do that, just push enter, and it will blank on. And if you want to turn it off, you go to the right and then enter. This is now off. Now I want to turn it on, enter. Now the type of graph that you're going to pick by pushing the right button is that second line, the middle, that's your box plot option. When you push that, it will select it. If you want to change the selection, all you have to do is go to another plot and then push enter. But that's not what I want. This one is the modified box plot. And this one is just the regular box plot. So I want the regular box plot. I push that and I push enter to select that, and then I have to tell the calculator where I put the data. I put it in L1. You can go and change that if you want, L1, L2, L3, but I put my particular data in L1. So when I push graph, it's going to give me the box plot. Now, if your calculator doesn't show you a nice looking box plot and you only see the tail end of it or something, that means your window is set in a weird way. So to correct that, you can go to zoom. If you scroll down, you're going to see that the option 9 is a zoom stat. It's just it will go and pick the best zoom for you based on your data. When you push enter, it will get you the box plot. Now, the modified box plot, that was the one that is to the left of the box plot option, is going to consider the outliers, and that is explained in your book. If you want to do an outlier analysis, you can pick the modified box plot, and that is when you pick, there may be some extreme values, some outliers that you don't want your data to be influenced by, so you can push that one. But I did the regular one because my students got pretty much, I don't have too many outliers in my data set. Now, as you see, the box plot does not show those numbers, and to get those numbers, to see them, you have to push trace, and it will blink on where it goes, and it will give you the value underneath. So when you go to the left, it will show you the quartile one, and it will say 9. To the left again, it will say that's your minimum value of 2. To the right again, 9. To the median, 15. To the right again, 17. And to the maximum value of 20. And that concludes the section of generating box plots and calculating mean and standard deviation using your TI-84.